We explain religious persecution in the medieval era, the quote, "In troubled times people look for scapegoats," and why this statement from our textbook holds true from age to age. Victims change, but the outcome remains the same. In this time of religious tension and change, intolerance and superstition were at a high level. Sources claim blame could be put at the door of hundreds of years of people not having access to the Bible and being told what it said. Superstition weighed out over science. And being led by religious leaders into wars against other religions or against heresy. In the case of Europe, much of the blame and hatred fell on women and Jews. According to the History Channel, between 1500 and 1660, 80,000 women were put to death as accused witches or agents of the devil, mostly in the German states of the Holy Roman Empire. In fact, 2 German Dominican monks published a book called Malleus Maleficorum in 1486. The book was a detailed work on how to find and interrogate witches. It sold more copies of any book other than the Bible. It labeled witchcraft as heresy, and people began to flush out witches all over Europe, mostly single women, women who refused to conform to societal roles, beggars, and herbalists. Witches became a major part of the culture, appearing in numerous fairy tales and plays such as Shakespeare's Macbeth. Other societies in Islamic and Indian countries also had books to prevent witches and how to execute them. It's believed that some of this may have come from herbalists who were practicing a different type of medicine by using plants versus the approved medicines offered by monks and priests like leeches, bleeding, and tree panning. Some of their plant medicine may have contained hallucinogenics, which would give way to people appearing to be under a spell. Women were forced to confess to devil worship under torture or being burned at the stake. Joan of Arc was one of the victims. Another group who faced the wrath of the Middle Ages were the Jews. They had begun to settle in Europe after the diaspora. Jews had migrated into Spain about 700, where Arab Muslims were tolerant of Jews and Christians. Spain became a place of Jewish scholarship. Jews also found a home within the German states, serving in positions of power. However, in most cases they found themselves heavily taxed in the way that Islam had taxed for non-conversion. By 1100, Jews were also living in Eastern Europe along the trade routes into Poland and Hungary. As the events of the Middle Ages spun into the Black Death, anti-Semitic rules and laws began to be encouraged by the Church, banning Jews from having jobs, trading, and owning land. In many cases, Jews were only allowed access to jobs in finance and medicine, and since usury practices of lending money with interest were banned for Christians, Jews filled the roles. Because Jews lived within the traditions of their faith, they were considered outsiders and blamed for disease and famine. They were made to wear certain clothes and live in ghettos. Many towns began to expel them, especially those run by people who owed heavy debts to Jewish lenders. In Strasbourg on Valentine's Day, 1349, hundreds of Jews were rounded up, blamed for the Black Death, and burned in the square.